Hey guys, my name is Steve. Welcome to WilmerWoodworks. Appreciate you spending some time with me today. Today we're going to have a simple project. It's a laser project again, getting to my LightBurn and things like that. But the reason for this project is, you've probably noticed from some of my other videos, I've got this little whiteboard that I keep track of all of my stats. Well, we have passed 3,400 subscribers and we are now at 3,513. So I did not like the way I was writing. My penmanship is not the greatest. So I decided to do a nice little laser cut. And then now every time that the numbers change, I could just take a little chit off and put that new counter up. So this is a very easy project. It's one sheet. I know I will probably run out of these little numbers. I know I did not print enough. There wasn't enough room on one sheet to print as many as I need, but it will suffice for now. Eventually, I hope to do a additional one, and for TikTok and maybe Instagram. I also have a Facebook page if you guys are interested, but I may put those down here as well. So that's what this project is. I'll show you how I designed it very quickly, down and dirty, how I cut it, and how we put it together. So if you want to have one of these for your shop or the backdrop of one of your videos, I'll show you how easy it is. And if you do not have a laser engraver, then you're interested in purchasing one of these, I'll put these for sale on my Etsy shop as well. So let's get to LightBurn and I'll show you how I do the designs.
Alright, the first thing that I like to usually start with when I make one of these designs is a cube, which will basically be my outline here. So the plywood that I'm using is 12 by 12, so I like to go 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. And just move this right over here, and this will just allow us to make sure that everything that we're designing stays within those confines. So I'm going to lock that shape right now. And now we will start by making the backdrop. So this to be fairly large. So maybe 1.7 by 4.6. Oh, we got to turn off this constraint. 4.6 by 11.7. And then what we'll do is get our selection tool, select both. Go in the center, and then I can just move this up by holding shift. Perfect. While that is selected, I'm going to put this on layer 5, and I'm also going to go over here to shape properties on this side of the screen, and I'm going to just round this corners off because I like to ease the corners. It gives it a little bit more of a softer look. All right. The next thing that I need to do is add my text. So we are going to be doing @Woodworks. And let's change that font to Caramel. Just move this over a little bit. Let's actually work from the top down. So put that on that first layer there, just because first layer is going to be the offset or the fill. We have the cut. The other thing I have to do is set up some holes. Now these holes are going to be cut because I usually put everything on my pegboard with 1/4 by 20 bolts. So we'll just make this 0.3 to give it a little bit of clearance. Let's see, so you put it right about there, and Control D for duplicate, right about there. Okay, so that holds our two bolts. And then I actually have already went to Canva and grabbed some icons, and you could go to Canva or you can go online. I've gone over a few different tutorials on how to do that. So these are our items here. We're just going to trace the image and click OK, and that deletes the previous image. So we have our YouTube play button here, and we will ungroup these because we want these to be individual. So I'll just group this play button with the arrow, and of course we need to resize that down a little bit. And then we have our subscribe button. We do want to group it together before we move or resize anything. So we'll just move that over there as well. Now currently these are on the wrong layer. What I'll do is actually, let me select both of these. Let's align these. Now at least they're lined up. I don't want to waste a lot of this space either. Let's change the layer because this isn't going to be a cut. It's going to be just a line engraving. So I'll start changing these power levels now so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So here we'll do 1500 by 40. Now I have a 12 watt. Your settings will be a little different. And this will be a line. So for the line, well, we can also do 1500 by 40, but that's going to be set to line instead of fill. And then this is going to be our cut. So I like to do 2 to 300 by either 90 to 100%. So we'll just set that to 95 for right now. So if we previewed this, let's turn off the top layer there, just our box. We don't need that. And see what we have. So it'll engrave this, and then it'll just trace these two, which is perfect. So while I'm doing that, why don't I ungroup this, and I will just select these words, put that on layer 2 as well, and then we'll reselect that and group that together. And let's take a look at that. Nice. So we're almost there. The only thing we have to do is put the little slots in for the hangers, and then make the hangers, and then we can move right along over to the letters. So that being said, now I think I like the size of these, but before I finalize anything, let me make the cue cards for the numbers. So the size that I think I used, I'm on inches now. I think I was about 1.5 inches, and I'll turn that off by about 2.5 inches. And again, we go to shape properties, and I just like to ease that corner off a little bit, just because it gives it a little softer tone. So let's see how that looks. It looks pretty good. All right, and then the other thing I like to do is put our center hole. And this center hole is going to be 0.375 or 9.5 millimeters. And then we'll just check that button, and then that's exactly. So what I like this to be is I like this to be 1/4 inch down. So I'm just going to make a little spacer right here. And this width doesn't matter, but the height, we'll keep that as, make that 1/4 inch. So if we select this, we can just simply align this to there. And then our circle, man, that was pretty right on right off the bat. So we'll just select this now, and we're just going to do a center align, and then we'll group that together. So this is basically our number selection. All right. So the slot that we're going to cut into this piece is going to be cut out of millimeter ply. So I'm going to change my setting here real quick, just from inches to millimeters. And I want this to be 3 millimeters by 8 millimeters. That's a nice, there we go, 3 by 8. Okay, so we're just going to move this up. We just want to watch where this is going to land. So center these on each other. That's close enough. So I'll grab both of these pieces at once, and we'll just move that up until it looks about right. So now what we can do is we go down here to the create an array. So it's just going to basically make a duplicate of the items that we have. And we want this to go around 5 times. So we can have 99,999 subscribers before we run into an issue with this counter. So now that that's complete, we can unselect this. And I just want to move those out of the way. Actually, I can delete all of those. And we'll just move this one over here. So that is it. Our board is pretty much done. I'm going to move this to layer 5 so it cuts it out. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this, because I actually want to duplicate this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this twice and then just glue that right on top of there. And I'm going to do that also with the play button. So once we go to assembly, you'll understand more of what I'm doing here. But we just want to ungroup this. We just want to make sure we don't mess the size up or resize anything. I'm just duplicating a couple of items that I'm going to add later to give our little counter some more depth. Okay, so while I have this selected as well, I want to make sure that this is set to cut and this is set to cut. Let's group these back together. Perfect. Okay, so let's make our little hangers now. Doesn't need to be too fancy. What I'll do is I'll just duplicate this. So that's the hole that it's going to go into, and then this is going to be the slot. Now you have to remember too, this is the front-facing view, but the little tags we're going to make are going to be on the side-facing view. So we have to think about that. So I'll make something that's about 5 millimeters wide by Yeah, 37 millimeters seems okay. A little over an inch. An inch is about 25 millimeters. And I like this to be a little higher because it'll want to turn. You know, you're putting all your weight here, so if there's more toward the bottom, it always makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. So now I'll just make another piece. Now this is coming out 36 millimeters. And when I stack up about 5 pieces, it does stack out to be a little over an inch. So we'll just make this 30 millimeters and we'll make this a little narrow. Not too narrow. So 4.5 is okay. So 4.5 millimeters. Usually everything is done in inches that I'm working with, but right now we're just doing millimeters. And then finally I'm going to put this little kick over here. It's going to be like a little 2x2, maybe 2.5 by 2.5. And that's just going to be just enough that it will hold the letter or the numbers from falling off. Okay, so I think that all looks pretty good. And that you get the basic idea. There's no hook here. We're just going to glue this straight. There's not a lot of weight. Okay, with this shape selected, I'll hit Control Duplicate. We'll do a 1, 2, 5. Okay, now we'll just cut what we don't need. Now I will move this out of the way, delete what was left, and I will put this right back where it needs to be. So now all we have to do is go around and join all these pieces. To do that, I'll select 2 pieces at once, and I'll go over here to the Boolean Union. And now you can see when I select here, Boolean Union is not available. That is because this piece here has an open shape. So I'll go to Edit, go to Select Open Shapes, which we already had it selected, but I'll unselect it so you can see. So we'll go to Select Open Shapes. We'll just click on here and click Close Path. So now we should be able to join these together. And finally, the back. And that is our simple hook. So now we'll just take this hook, move it over here, Control D for duplicate, and we will turn that around and just stack these. Now with both of these, Control D for duplicate, Shift, move over, Control D, duplicate, Shift, move over. And we only need 5, so we will delete that. That is basically our counter. Now we can go and open a new file and start with our numbers. So I will hit save on this, file, save, and call this YouTube counter. And now what I'll do also is I will do a control copy and I'll do file, new window to open a new instance of LightBurn. And again, starting with our piece of plywood, and our pieces of plywood are in inches and, oh, I guess and millimeters, but I have a 12-inch by 12-inch, so I like this to be 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. And we will just lock this shape in place and hit Control V. This is our number hanger. So we're going to leave that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a letter and go down here. But before I start typing anything, I'm going to go up here to normal and I'm going to change this to serial. And then I'm going to type in lowercase d. Actually, let me change this font as well. Airman D. And we'll just grab this and make this a little bit bigger. And then just position it the best we can. Holding shift, center align. Looks beautiful. So now that we have that marked as a serial, we can go over here and create an array. And we're going to do this by 2s. We'll see how many we can fit on the page. So what is that? 7 by 4. Perfect. And before we are done here, let's let's do the space. Let's just space these out a little bit more. And then with everything selected, going to select that. And we're just going to center that. Perfect. So now we just have a whole bunch of D's. So if we look, we have variable text over here. If you don't have variable text, then you just have to go up here to window and then you will just click on this little icon here. You see how it disappears? Click there again and it reappears. Click on there. Let's just hit test. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 0, 2, 4. So it just keeps counting. So that is perfect. Now, the only other thing I like to do is, before we leave here, let's ungroup these real quick. I'm going to click on one and hit Edit, select all shapes in current cut layer. Oops. Before I do that, let's move this to a different cut layer. What's important is that we don't move these after we engrave them because we want everything to stay set. So I'm going to just hit Duplicate, and then I'm going to put a different layer. And there's a reason behind that. So what we have here, if we go to our layers, so black is the first layer of the number. We're going to do that as an offset fill. And I like that to go fairly quickly. And then the blue is going to be our cut and our green. So the green, what I like to do is actually another line. So this will be the offset, and then I'll change this to 1500 by 40. And then the blue will be our cut, which is going to be 200 by 95. And then if we just go back one more time and we test that, doesn't matter if it's one layer or two layers, it's still going to be exactly the same. So what I'll do here is I will hit Save As, and then I usually like to call this Sheet A. So we hit save, it's going to tell me to replace because I've already have it. You won't have that issue. And then I also like to do File, Save As, and we're going to save this as Sheet B, same exact sheet, but Sheet B, current number and starting number. So we're going to do 1. So this is going to be the back side. And then what I'll do is this is Sheet B, so we're going to do Bake. When you do bake, that finalizes your serial numbers. The last thing we need to do is do a file. So I'm selecting the tab, and I'm going to say select all shapes in the current cut layer, and then I'm going to delete them because this is side B. So we're already going to cut it out on side A. We don't need to cut it out again. We just need to engrave on the back. So this is side B, and this is all done now. So we'll go to Sheet A, we'll go to Test, 0, 1, 2, so we'll hit Bake, and that's it. Now we're done. All we have to do is hit Save. Now when we cut this, we'll cut one sheet, we'll leave the sheet exactly where it is on the machine, and we'll just individually flip each of these numbers, and then we'll run Sheet B. All right, let's get over to the laser and see what we can do. Once we got our pieces cut out, all we have to do is color it. So I printed this separately just so I could have a little bit of depth to the model. And what I'll do is I'll just color this play button in here white, or the white little play icon, and then I'll just glue that on there. I love these paint markers. This new kit that I have, it allows you to have a detailed tip and then a broad tip. So that's beneficial when you're doing smaller parts like this. But let me know what you guys think. Are you using paint pens? Are you actually using paint brushes? Are you using vinyl? What do you do to color in your pieces? Or are you not coloring in your pieces? Tell you what, if I wasn't coloring this in, it'd go a lot quicker. But I don't think it would look as nice. Color just makes it pop. Not adding a ton of color to this, but just enough where it makes a difference. Alright, let's get our super glue. Super glue play button in place. It doesn't take much. It sets up fairly quick. So you do need to just make sure that you have everything lined up. And now we'll just glue these in. I'll put a link to this glue. It's been working very well for me. And it's actually been a little bit nicer to use than the super glue gel. I know I like the gel because, you know, they say it doesn't move or anything like that, but this stuff has been phenomenal. And it's not carrying a ton of weight, so there's no need to put a hook behind this. Just do want to make sure that I get all these in the right orientation, the right direction. Make sure they're all straight-ish. Okay, there we go. Alright guys, that's the end of this build. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you picked up a few things here and there that maybe you didn't know before. As always, I will offer this digital design for LightBurn for free for everybody for maybe a day or two.
just as a premier benefit. If you're watching, I'll put a link in the description below. And then for the rest of this month, any of the members of my channel will have access to this for free. It will be 1.5 sheets of plywood that I used for this, half for just the hanger with the hooks and the second for the numbers, and you can print as many numbers as you want after that. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've worked on any projects or what projects you've got going on, or any of the features of LightBurn that you'd like to see in the future. Till next time, I really do appreciate you tuning in. Take care.